So in Genesis chapter 13, Sarah doesn't feel like she should have to wait on God to give her a child to be the heir to Abraham's estate, the heir to his blessings. She's tired of this waiting. She's beginning to doubt God's promise, and so she takes matters into her own hands and tells her husband Abraham to sleep with her maidservant, and their child will be the heir to his blessing, the heir to this promise that God has given him. And so Abraham does it, and her maidservant becomes pregnant, and she becomes jealous. And it says in verse 4, when she knew that she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. And then Sarah said to Abraham, "You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering. I put my servant in your arms, and now that she knows she is pregnant, she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me. Your servant is in your own hands," Abraham said. "Do with her whatever you think." Then Sarah mistreated Hagar, so she fled from her. So here we have people sort of shirking the blame on somebody else. Sarah is the one that has given up on this promise that God gave Abraham, that Abraham was going to have a son. She's the one that told her husband to do this, and yet she's blaming her husband for the whole event taking place, for causing a division between her and her maidservant. And so we do this all the time. We blame others for our own errors of judgment, our own failures, and even our own sins. So often we'll say, well, I've made that mistake because, my parents didn't teach me any better. Or I did that because society is corrupt and I'm just, part of society. It's just in my nature. It's in human nature. And we begin to blame things like our flesh, and we don't want to take responsibility for our own sinfulness, for our own brokenness. And so here we see Sarah, she's blaming somebody else. She's blaming her husband. Her husband, puts the blame back on her. And in this whole mess, Hagar is just mistreated. And yeah, she's treated like an object. Something that people are just treating as if they can do whatever they want. And no one's taking responsibility for themselves. And we see this every day. And we saw it with Cain and Abel. After Cain kills his brother, God asks, "Where's Abel?" And Cain's like, "Well, I'm not my brother's keeper." And Cain knows what he's done, and yet he doesn't want to accept the blame for it. And when Adam and Eve, they sin, they hide from God. They hide their error of judgment. They hide their sin. And when God comes to them and asks them if they've eaten from the tree, which he knows they have, Adam blames Eve, and Eve blames the snake. And says, "The snake that you put here," and Adam says, "The woman you put here," and they keep trying to find a scapegoat. They keep trying to find someone else to blame for their own sin. But our God calls us to be honest about sin and brokenness, to realize that we've all contributed to the things in this world that are not God, the things in the world that do not bring him glory, the things in our lives that we need to take blame for them, that we need to accept that we fall short.